Hi, this is Felbert again. It's a day after World Teachers Day, so I have sort of nostalgia, and because I'm not a teacher anymore, or I'm not teaching, and uh, well, uh, I probably miss my students at Montessori Filipino who are special children, and when you did see or watch the film, we actually uh, showed there different nuances of special children. So, I miss my students, and they don't know. Like after so many years, I myself was diagnosed of bipolar disorder, so I'm also special. Well, I have to read the chapter of my book so that you have an idea how Montessori level teacher would handle students with special needs. So I titled it like Getting to Know My Angels, My Source of Strength and My Inspiration. So there. So I was heaven bound to Montessori Filipino in Loyola Heights sometime in August 2008, and my first day was all camouflage to conceal my dwindling impression of the school, likewise to remain disalienated, even if it were intimidating and mere sight of unprepared environment. I had to tell myself that I could not just be discriminating and exacting this feeling of inadequacy upon all would just have been a misappropriation in itself to jeopardize my love to teach. So there, I had to shake up, let loose, and become a sped teacher the Montessori way. So I want mention here the exact name of the students to to protect their identity, but uh, let me have this. So one special child is DJ. I I title it like perfumed sax. So he's an ADHD, 13 years old. My second day had dripped me off my patience, and I swore to hell I would never go back the third day. I was as certain anyway in my interview that this teaching gig could not buy me a Boracay vacation. I was in a multi-level Montessori class in the morning of my second day, and I had to handle DJ, a 13-year-old ADHD boy, and I was told that he had been very annoying. After some getting to know, I had to be as audacious. And quite during the class, I saw Elaine, an 11-year-old bright student, but diagnosed with autism, and now speaks to herself. Just when I would want to get near Elaine and talk to her, DJ caught my attention as he played his pair of socks and had them smelled by his seatmates, then overhearing that his socks were perfumed. This had grossly irked me, and I had to reprimand DJ and told him to stop, but his seatmates would, just the same, chorus in laugh and ran away altogether up the second floor that had long been vacated as though nothing happened, and yell I would to them, but I never listened. When I went up, the two boys, who were obviously normal kids, just calmly descended, even apologizing, and I had to find DJ in the dark room, who must have playfully gotten in hiding, and just when I tried to open the light as I was sizing up the eerie, deserted room with chairs and whiteboard apparently cobweb, DJ had scream scared me from my back, and momentarily I then lost my peg as father and brother figure, but DJ had almost fainted just laughing out loud, even rolling in the floor as he literally turned a mix of blue and violet. Very much surprised of his condition, I admonished him to go down or I would never teach him anymore. Well, as I'll be around, and luckily he had picked himself up and got up from where he swung, but never sorry. Back in the class, he would grab his school bag, took out his math book, and brought his chair towards my table and told me that he was already working on a particular math lesson. Well, I just stayed quiet and never minded him for minutes as though he was non existent. And when he felt that he had mouthed out sorry, that I nodded. So while keeping an eye to Elaine, who did on her decimals and was talking to the skies while doing so, DG had to squeeze himself in under my table with his book, clearly seeking attention. Tired of him, for that very morning, I had to manage myself to sit down and spoke to him straight to his pathetic eyes and gave him a pat and told him that Elaine was just needing me for a while so to give her directions, but that did not mean I was never going back to him. It had quieted him, and I so learned from that very moment that I'd have really been meant to be a teacher, and maybe a sped teacher. A few minutes later, he had to fix himself and turned to me as though apologetic, saying he would do his lessons back to his table. I could not contain my tears. I would have wanted to hug him, but my reassuring pat had already quite made a difference, and I told myself that this could make a good start for me towards DJ. Hence, no pills when he would color a little violet, only water, and he would know when he needed a glass of it or two. Enzo, 7-year-old, ADD. Hug, 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 Teacher Felbert. What's inside your heart today? Teacher Felbert, after math book, go home. As I write this, I'm crying and sob. I missed Enzo so much. Not his real name. And I just don't know where I could find him. Our school, Montessori Filipino, was seized by the bank a few months after we filmed Sped Hearts. I missed all my students, especially the SPED kids I handled, as they had taught me to become a better person, and my mother, who had also been instrumental towards pursuing this film, SPED Hearts. It was lunch break on my second day, and I had been massively drained and exhausted, so I had to wear my worn out, burnt out self, and I told myself I would just complete the day. Da and Ba and myself, they just have a quick lunch skillfully, and we kind of hung around, talking nonsense when Enzo would come near us and awaken the weary hearts of his usual charm. Hug, 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 Teacher Felbert. Ba is so predictable with her spontaneity, and she would introduce me to Enzo as his new math teacher. Da would love to fix Enzo's tuck-in thingy. The boy is so good looking, like a live angel. There is, and always wears a smile even when his head gets hurt with his math works. Seeing me with a very worn out and drawable sad self as I had also been nursing an ailing heart, Enzo without hesitation would just get near me and then vehemently circle me with his usual hug, but this time quite tighter. He would then ask me, without necessarily looking at me straight in the eyes, and as though talking to the heavens, like pleading to God to make me happy. Teacher Felbert, what's inside your heart today? I literally froze in disbelief. My flamboyance could have certainly gotten a little out as my tears would run dry through my cheek, and so afraid that I could sabotage my audacity towards my kids with special needs. And among my class, I had to pick up myself to be at least a big brother, you know, if not dad. I had to hug Enzo back with his head a little tucked to my tummy and so kid him if I still do smell good, but without him seeing that I cried quite profusely in silence. Apparently, Da and Ba had to shed tears as well while laughing. And bang! It did not just seize actually our moment as it sure made my day, and right there and then I swore to heavens that I would stay with them regardless of the situation as long as I'd be in a capacity and as long as I could stay sane and alive. So at 2 p.m., with a cup of Enzo Chino, my eyes were all non-sleepy, not even drowsy, and I had to be as bright and pleasant before coming to Enzo's class, or Enzo would certainly hit me again. At Enzo's class, he would sure lead a prayer, and his classmates were really used to his dose of charm that even when he would be gesturing the whole class because his head gets hurt of a two-digit math addition, they still would love him. And me too. I just love him when his blank but very cute eyes would so circle and ask me, Teacher Falbert, after math book, go home? Yes, Enzo. Go home. And I would prompt him to fix himself, still very tucked in, get his bag, and close the class session with the same prayer. Thank you, Lord, for my daddy, my mommy, my grandma, my grandpa, my PSP, and Jollibee. And so wherever you are, Teacher Filbert will always love you. You just don't know how much you had touched my life, and I swear that as long as I am alive, I will love my Pucho because he reminds me of you. May we see each other again soon. I will find you, we will find you, Enzo, together with Teacher Ba and Teacher Da. Elaine, 11 years old, with autism. So this is about Roman numerals. Well, in OB Montessori for 5 years as internal auditor and college teacher, I chanced past this very bright boy who was believed to have been gifted with a photographic memory. But sadly though, he was diagnosed as suffering from mild autism. One day at the canteen, he randomly asked teachers and employees alike of their names and birthdays. That I was calmed when a teacher told me he was a special child in my initial reluctance when he approached me. Months later, I met him in the school lobby and called me by my surname. And instead of being surprised, I gave him a pat and smiled. And he told me, I am right, you are Mr. Go. Your birthday is April 15. Wow, old. My arms hairs figuratively stood up. Goosebumps, we say. And I had to stomach butterflies in front of him right at that very moment, but never did I hesitate to delve a little chat with him to reciprocate his gesture and recognition. That one peculiar day had got me one thing, that a special child with autism could be so mentally bright, even if you know for a fact that there is this quiet mental handicap or developmental delay as medical doctors would foretell. So when I met Elaine in Montessori Filipino, the experience was never alienating anymore at all. Elaine loved school so much, and she was always ready with our math works. From what I could recall, she never failed me with her homeworks. And when I met her mom in the school, I learned that they have their own school. Somewhere, Paranaque, I guess. But Elaine's mom opted to have her school in Montessori Filipino upon her doctor's incandescent spiel. So I was thinking there could really be something from this school. True enough, I had to later learn that the Montessori school director is a psychologist and a Montessori specialist, and was believed to have sat as child psychologist of the very famous Lea Salonga of the Misagon fame, and all be Montessori's pride and glory. Elaine's mom is likewise very bright and seemingly a very fulfilled career woman and educator. One day, she handed me a book which she wrote herself about her plight with autism, hoping that one day she could find a miracle to remedy Elaine's condition, that I could personally vouch the sincerity of her unending quest for a miracle, even quoting medical doctors as just having tried and tested numerous remediation efforts as a routine, but summed up anyhow and futility. Having been a medical representative for 3 years after college graduation, I was also a living witness at how things are contemplated in the medical practice, and we are so accustomed to reckoning for second best, so to speak. But engaging to seek for a second opinion does not really mean that the first one was just fairly good. It just certainly is a thing for the privileged and moneyed few. In exhaustion, all the cards were laid down for Mom to remedy Elaine's special condition, but still Elaine would still surely and indiscriminately smell every food she would see, no matter how safe it may have seemed for her to eat. Having read Jenny McCarthy's Mother Warrior book, I could understand the very strict diet regimen this whole thing with autism necessitated, and that's probably the reason why she would nuance smelling all the time, then slighting bawal or a no-no, and then gazes at the horizon as though talking to the skies. Apparently, I wasn't just hurt seeing her doing that every now and then. I was devastated that I had to treat her some sweets in the nearby Sarisar store, sometimes which we both enjoyed. On the other hand, Elaine was so affectionate, and she would hug male teachers or plant a kiss on the cheek to females if she'd make a 100% score, which she always gets. My very bright and perfectionist Elaine. But one day in our math lesson, I gave her a test on Roman numerals. But she was so disappointed to me when she got only 9 out of 10. She asserted she was right, and when I told her she made a mistake with Ivy as she answered 6 instead of 4, she ran out of the class, roamed in the school's compound, spoke to herself, cried quietly, gazed at the horizon, whirled forth around and was talking to the heavens. I cried incessantly at what I saw, and I even cried so hardly when she never heeded my call to come to the class back, because it was so hot outside, and when she remained flip-flopping and whirling around, I went out of the classroom and hugged her, crying. At that very moment, I told her to go back to the class, so to do it again, giving her the rule once more that if I comes before V, then it would be a minus. And in that case, it should have been 5 minus 1. And when she answered 4, I got the most surprising hug ever in my lifetime, and a pinch in my cheek, saying, "Very good, Elaine, Teacher Felbert." Yes, very good, Elaine. I could not hide my crying from the class, but they understood me. I missed you, Elaine. You remind me of my verse with R. Teacher Felbert loves you, and I know that you too love Teacher Felbert because your mom told me you would have wanted Teacher Felbert to be with you when you were in the States. Haven, 17, mild autism. Teacher Felbert, please don't teach me XY. Just please teach me how to become like my dad. Oh, Haven. Indeed, heaven sent. At 17, approximately 7 years ago, he was quite big of his age, quite bigger than I then was. Very reserved, never questioning, and by his looks, you could not mistake him as suffering from autism. From what I gathered, he comes from a very closely knit family and both his parents were all business people. So it was but just natural for him to imbibe the spirit of entrepreneurship. Even if he was seated next to Mike, a special boy diagnosed with what they call classic autism, he would seem to have been understanding of Mike until the latter threw his tantrum undesirably that he would approach me to my table trying to figure out that because Mike is special, he should have been isolated, not knowing that he might have been quite perceived with and into the same struggle. One day in our math class, I had to introduce to him a little algebra that he would do some head scratching. Heaven is so very good in English. He's a very good English speaker and very fluent in conversational English. And he speaks Mari Kaimo like very proper and with a very fine speaking voice, modulated. And hearing him talk, you would sure expect him to be assertive, so it was not a surprise to me when he approached me and summoned me not to teach him XY. He further told me it's not relevant, and he could not understand the significance of it all, that he just wanted me to teach him how to become like his dad. So at impulse, I would ask him back if he what was his dad doing for a living. Had he probably tell the class that his dad is an architect and a businessman. At that, he even made mention about some work projects his dad must have been engaging, and I was happy as just seeing him, also very happy at his wanting to be like dad. After his recitation, he went back to his table, but before he even got seated, I asked him if he would want to be married in the future, inspired by the favorite film that I had watched in the past entitled I Am Sam, who in the film is in struggle to raise a daughter because of his handicap. And when he answered a resounding no because mommy could suppose get angry, I was as certain that there would have been occasions in the past that he did regret somehow. So to have that no fixation as far as settling down is concerned. Moreover, on our field trip one day, I realized that Heaven unbelievably might not have known anything about concepts of money, and I was surprised that he does not know that there are 10 100s in 1000. But he could read figures, and I was surprised when he had to hand me a tape receipt asking me if 12% VAT were correct in it. Very sadly, the last time I heard of Haven was that he was sculpting poignancy and havoc in life, and thus in apparent turmoil and distress that caused his regression once more upon his dad's untimely and cruel departure. Ron, 10, with autism. But Teacher Falbert, I will send you to Japan. Ron at 10 was certainly the school's heartthrob. Very good looking, quite chinito, and speaks very fluent in English, but math for him is chaos. On so many occasions, he had to refuse to be taught any math lesson, and I would design every strategy that was possible to be able to inject a little math in our math class. As a son of both medical doctors, you could only hope he would one day become like anyone else. A normal kid, then growing up to be a fine man, date a very beautiful woman, and settle down. The last time I heard about Ron was that he transferred school and he got few classes. Back one day in our math class, I caught him seriously sizing up his toy cars in the teacher's table and lined them up. Around 20, I could guess. When I got near him, he just stared me blankly, and I had to show off like I was so upset and fuming mad of him for playing in my table. What I did was threw my bag to the direction of his toy cars so they would fell down, and instead of yelling at me, he just turned red and told me instead, "You know what, Teacher Falbert? I'll send you to Japan." In response, I told him, "So why the heck are you sending me to Japan, Ron?" "Because you're bad, Teacher Falbert," he responded. "Oh, well, because I am your teacher and you are telling me that I am bad, and I will want you to count how many cards are left on the table, and I want you to do it in the board." Before I knew it, he was counting all the toys on the floor at the same time, and he did that serendipitous addition and subtraction for the very first time after a month or so. Since then, we became friends and he would just greet me every time he sees me around. But unlucky me, I was never traded off by Ron to go to Japan. Mike, 16, classic autism. Our wristband boy. Mike is very showbiz, but he can talk, and when he tantrums, he bites his wrists. So his folks got him a wristband to cover his sore wrists. Hence, I figured he must have gotten a handful of wristbands. But one day on a field trip to ABS-CBN, he did surprise me when he roamed around in various studios, then naming actors and actresses with picture frames on the wall, all pictures being appropriately named and pronounced correctly. So when I spoke to our Montessori directors, I learned that Mike has an obsession with the ABS-CBN's actors and actresses. Because of his very special condition, Mike could have probably ignited a commotion, but that was not really a catastrophe at all, especially that those normal ones that might have been quite aggravated of his classic noise, as it seemed to me, were already made aware beforehand of his special condition. And in Araneta Coliseum, he did tantrum again, being so tightly held up and cracked a very odd sound because he was so fascinated at the sight of pictures of beauty queens and basketball stars. Mike is heavyweight, and when he saw a life-sized picture of Sarah Geronimo near the gate area, he had gotten out our grip and unfathomably escaped to the direction of Sarah's, and so excitedly jumping and screaming as hard as he could. So when he was reprimanded not to cause havoc so as not to catch the attention of the Coliseum security guards, the next thing that happened was chaos. Me and the two security guards had to bear punches indiscriminately from Mike while he would keep biting his wrist at the same time, and it took quite a few minutes to pacify him that I was definitely exhausted after that. In the bus on our way back to school, Mike seemed not to listen at my command as his eyes would just circle and then go blank and wayward. But he actually made sense by getting my hand and then point to the buildings that he liked as we traveled past them. Like any human being, Mike could also feel the same like anyone else. And that one particular occasion when he masturbated in one of the vacant rooms did tighten this reality. The female teacher who saw him did not actually stop him from so doing, but after that, I was asked by our Montessori directors to speak to Mike, so to do it in a private place discreetly, and so pounding it, however, as a human nature. What then Mike did was still pursuing his work activity as though not listening, but after he felt I was kind of serious, he thus got me towards the computer room and had me open the computer, then turning on at random an upbeat music playlists. Dance we did after that together with the teachers in the faculty room as though he celebrated a small triumph in life. Anyhow, math with Mike was to count all those pencils he would then ask or steal unknowingly from his schoolmates, count coins, among others. With Mike in my class, it thus has strengthened my profession as a special teacher, never mind bruises. At least I saw him ride in a school bus to and from the school alone already, and not with dad anymore, and or with the old bruising nanny. Godspeed, Mike. That's all. Well, I have to tell you this. I I did teach at STI in the new building in Pitawazon for like a couple of months, October to December, I guess, and left around January, and I was teaching in the class, and there was this there was this guy actually who was looking at me while outside while I was teaching, and he probably could surprised or maybe got eliminated or maybe saw me familiar, and uh, he didn't ask his classmates what's my name, and when he learned that I'm Mr. Go, that's what my students call me in STI. So, oh, he's my teacher at Montessori Filipino. So he was an ADHD case, and from what I learned, he graduated BS Tourism in STI and is now working as barista in Starbucks. So I was happy. I hope I could still teach and or maybe do tutoring because they tell me that I could not teach anymore because I have had tats. Lot of them. And there was even a time also in STI that a female student actually followed me while I was going inside the faculty room and then asked me, "Excuse me, are you a teacher?" I answered yes. Oh, cool. She saw my butterfly tats and could I sit in your class next time, Mr. Go? So fascinating. I miss her. I forgot her name. So there. Whew, I hope my students would know that I'm one of them too. I hope my bipolarity is a gift. So I wanted to help them too. I might be able to teach again with kids with special children. So I don't know, maybe through tutoring or I don't know if I couldn't make it in a school, maybe build my own school if there's an opportunity. Joke. Seriously, that's all. Thank you very much. Peace. See you around. Love you guys.